Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Get your team registered, first thing. If you go to Game7Baseball.com, got to register your team, get your roster in there. Great tournaments, then sign up for these fantastic tournaments. We're going to have some great fun. We got some great stuff scheduled. We're going to be out at Warrenton, the new complex. Turf Fields. I love it. That's where we're going. That's where the world is going. Turf Fields keeps the rain away. Maybe not, but at least you can still play after it rains. That's the positive about it. That's what we all like about it. It isn't better than grass, but at least you get to still play. And in Missouri, that counts. And I'm sure in Illinois too. Correct, Diego?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It rains a lot down here.
So make sure, folks, you get in, get yourself registered, Game7Baseball.com. We will see you at the ballpark. Today on the show, joining us is Diego Solares. We were privileged to be invited out to the Preseason I.D, Southwest Illinois Preseason I.D showcase. There it is. And had a good time. A lot of good players out there. Talked to a lot of great kids. Diego, appreciate it. How you doing, man?
Great. No, man, I really appreciate you guys coming out. It honestly elevated the vibe of the event. I could tell that the players were pumped about it. It's a brand new facility. It's our first time running the event. So it was an awesome day, and you guys were definitely a part of that.
It is a nice facility, isn't it, over there, that new sports barn?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's I didn't think – now, I'm from like the Chicagoland area, and I went to school in Wisconsin. So up there, it's a little colder than it is down here, and so the need for massive indoor facilities that like because you're basically inside until the 1st of April. But when I first moved down here and went to the sports barn in Wentzville, I didn't think there would be something in the St. Louis area bigger or nicer than that one, and they definitely one-upped themselves because Sports Barn East in Wood River, it's awesome. It's a beautiful facility. It's bigger than the other one slightly. The weight room, the maximized pitching lab area, the turf. I can't imagine not taking advantage of something like that if it was at my disposal. So those players are very fortunate. Absolutely.
Wisconsin. Now, I've heard, I don't know this, so I'm going to get this right from the proverbial horse's mouth. When did you guys start playing high school baseball? I heard you guys played like into June and in July.
So they used to. I'm not from Wisconsin. I'm from Illinois. Okay. I went to college in Wisconsin. Okay. I think up until 2018 or 2019, they actually did what Iowa does, where they would play high school baseball in the summer, and Iowa does that. Like they play the full high school season in the summer. The problem is that with the emergence of like travel ball and stuff, and there's some really, really good travel programs in Wisconsin. A lot of the top players would opt to play on the travel circuit instead of playing for their high school teams. So the high school product as a whole did not have the top talents. So they actually switched it back to a more traditional spring season. They don't start until like the very end of March. Early April is when opening day is. The season is shorter. The state championship is like the second week or third week of June because of weather. But it's a shorter season. Like, you know, you're lucky if you go all the way to state if you're playing 30 to 35 games. Even in April and May in Wisconsin, having played college ball there, you're lucky if you're getting a 50-degree day and it's sunny. But there are some really good players. There are some really, really good players that have come out of Wisconsin, whether at a professional level or Division I collegiate level or all levels. So they're definitely doing something right up there.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's and that's crazy. I've always said I never really want to go any further north than I am because I'm not a cold weather person. I was born in Southern California. I've lived in the southern states, you know, for most of my life. And, you know, so I'm not a winter kind of guy. And baseball is definitely not a winter sport.
No, it's not. It's not. But so, it does build some toughness, though. It definitely builds some toughness and some blue-collar attitude if you have to take ground balls or go up against 92 up and in 35-degree weather.
Oh, man. No kidding. I always, you see guys get plunked early in the season when it's, 35. It just hurts worse.
Yeah.
Get the sting of that bat, and then you got to use an old trashy bat because you don't want to bust up your Cadillac.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There you go. The things we do for sport. Hey, we had a great time there. There was a lot of good players showed out at this event. Let's start with some. You had some young guys there. You even had a 2028 that I thought showed pretty well. Start there.
We did. The event was open for 24s and 25s, 26s, and 27s. We did have a 2028 come. And honestly, if you're factoring in age and talent and presence skill, he may have been the best guy there prospect-wise. Anderson Kaufman, he is going to Alton High School next year. Strong kid, man, lean strength, still looks like a kid. Not one of those like super big physical 13, 14-year-olds you usually see. Strong kid. Actually came with us to the Junior Future Games last year as a member of Team Missouri because we did not have a 13U Team Illinois. So Kevin Mulder picked him up, took him down, and he was pretty good there too. But this event was the best look we had gotten at him. Up to 84 on the mound, sitting in the low 80s, pretty easy delivery, not a ton of effort, not a big head whack. Was throwing strikes with all three pitches. But honestly, like he may end up being more of a position player. It was really, really good behind the plate, catch and throw wise. I was throwing the pop times to the catchers and was pretty blown away. It was on the bag. It was quick to release, sure-handed, not wasting any time. I think he was up to like 76 from the crouch, which that's a pretty good number if you're a high school junior or a high school senior. It's an excellent number if you're an eighth grader. And his rounded BP was polished. He was on the barrel to the pull side, spraying balls to the right center too with some strength. So Alton High School is definitely getting a good one. And they've had some pretty good names come through there in the past, and it definitely looks like Anderson Kaufman's going to be the next guy.
Wow. When I saw that it was 2028, and you go, and then watching that kid, and we took some time and spoke with him. We're going to put these interviews out here real soon. We're getting all this edited and put together. But when you talk to 14-year-olds, there's a lot of nervousness, and with Anderson, he was pretty calm. He was pretty collected. He has a pretty solid way about him. He's got some maturity for a 14-year-old.
For sure. He was the first guy that pitched, and we actually we were having some TrackMan issues. We had to reset the TrackMan, and oftentimes you can tell sometimes when you're the first guy to go, there's some nerves, there's some angst coming, right? Like you just want to do your best. And I was sitting there talking with him while we were trying to fix the TrackMan, and you would have thought that it was just a walk in the park, different kind of day, cool, calm, and collected, just like you said. So definitely mature and advanced for his age in that regard, which is obviously really important.
I think the only thing I can compare this to is just something I've ever seen. I haven't seen 14-year-olds throw this hard, except and it's happened this year. When we were in Kansas City with Andy Urban, and there's a 14-year-old there, Liza
Brett Leeser. Yeah, Brett Leeser. Olathe South, I think, or Olathe East.
Yes, I think it's one of the Olathes. It might be east. It's either east or west. And he's 14. I didn't know that. He's a freshman, so I'm thinking, well, but he's probably 15. No, he was still 14. And this kid is 6'2", big. He's bigger than Anderson Kaufman. He topped at 89.6. I'm like, how's a 14-year-old?
Yeah, he's a good one. He's a good one. Number one arm in the Kansas 27 class. Can really spin a breaking ball too. Good body, starter's look. That's going to be a big-time arm in that 27 class. And honestly, him being young for his age is going to check a lot of boxes too when it comes to the college and the draft circuit potentially.
You don't see these types of talents at this age very often, do you?
It's tough. It's tough. Now, I will say, like, maybe not in the Midwest, but when we go down to Lake Point for the Junior Future Games and we're doing the 14Us and we're playing against Texas and California and Georgia and those southeastern schools are on the West Coast, you see some pretty freaky stuff at that age. And honestly, like, the way it's trending now, kids are getting bigger, they're getting faster, they're getting more physical, they're getting trained earlier, they're starting their weightlifting and just the natural progression of humans is getting bigger and faster. So you start to see some freaky stuff at a pretty young age and some really talented, loud tools at a pretty young age. But definitely 84 as a 14-year-old, having never stepped on campus at a high school yet, and 76 from the Crouch with a 2-flat pop time. That's really good. That's really, really good. Like I said, most high school juniors and seniors, the good ones, are kind of in that bucket. So
there you go. Folks, we're joined by Diego Solares on the Prime Sports Midwest call-in link. Look, if you're looking for some sports gear or whatnot, check out our friends over at Prime Sports Midwest.
So this area back here is basically production. They do a lot of the artwork back here. They do the production. So any of that stuff that comes in off of, we'll say, our fanware stores, stuff that comes in off the team stores, a lot of the coaches wear, a lot of the last minute, hey, we got to have it in the next 10 minutes stuff. That's all comes back here. This area is where all the day-to-day stuff that comes in really goes through. The retail store is its own little entity. This is where the real work is done.
Diego, I want to get into the 2026 class, or 27. Can't forget 27s. Then we'll move to 26.
Yep.
Who was the kids on the 27 side that stood out to you?
So we had a couple talented 27s in attendance. Omar Avalos is a Father McGivney kid, so right over here on the Illinois side. 1A school. They were 2A last year, won 32 games, came just short of going to state. I would think that they're going to be probably the best team in 1A this year, and I'm sure he's going to factor in a pretty good amount. Left athlete, smaller but strong, big, strong, like wide back, really good swing, man. It's not your conventional, like, you wouldn't look at it and say, wow, that's really pretty. But the bat to ball and the hand speed is really advanced. He was a member of Team Illinois at the Junior Future Games last year. And I don't know if he got out. I'm not even kidding. I don't think he got out one time. And every time he got on first, it basically turned into a double because it was an automatic stolen base. So it's a true top of the order, left-handed hitter, can play center field. His arm was better. It was stronger and more accurate in this look. And I would think one day, once he is older and stronger and continues to get more physical, he'll be a 6'7", 6'8" runner in the 60. So it's a true leadoff guy. Definitely a guy that I would think will have no problem being an impact type bat for Father McGivney now and throughout the rest of his high school career. Brody Lindemann from Belleville East, another 2027, another guy we took down to the Junior Future Games. Strong kid. He's a big, strong, physical kid. Catcher, third baseman. He also pitches to strong right-handed swing. I was really intrigued by him on the mound. Actually, at this event, I had never seen him pitch before, and he came up to me at the very end, asked me if he could throw. Was up to 83 with a really good slider, landed it for strikes. Sounds like he may get a chance at Belleville East to see some innings behind the plate this year as a freshman. It's a 4A school. It plays in one of the best conferences in Illinois, so that's definitely a name to watch. And then the only Missouri kid we had in attendance, Alex McCarthy from Francis Howell, 2027. So there you go. Francis Howell just adding more to that pipeline that seems to never end. I believe he was up to 85. We saw him in the fall at the Midwest Rebels Scout Day. Yep, he was up to 85 in this look, sat 83, 84, strong kid. He's probably like 6'1", 6'2", maybe even taller, honestly, with present strength, but room to add more. Arm strength guy. Could be a guy that's upper 80s next year, no problem. So there were some talented 27s we saw there, and yeah, I'm sure as we'll get into it as the show goes on, an abundance of 26s and 25s to talk about.
Well, there is the next year, 26, just like we said.
Yeah.
Just there it is. And I think this class, to me, even on the Missouri side, Illinois side, I saw too, there's a lot of there's a lot of talent across the board. You know, you see some guys in certain classes where you have this, eye-popping being this guy just really jumps. But to me, the 26s, there are those guys in this class, but to me, the talent is really spread out. And there's just a lot of good baseball players.
Oh, yeah. And feel free to cut me off here because I'm going to go full Andy Urban on you and just start rattling off some names because this was a really good group. Dylan Huff. Dylan Huff may have been my personal favorite player of the entire event. He goes to Chatham-Glenwood, which is a perennial powerhouse high school in Springfield, Illinois. They're 3A. Illinois only goes up to 4. So they're 3A. They have produced several big leaguers on the mound, and there's probably a couple more that are coming that way. Strong kid, 3-sport athlete, 6'3", if I had to guess. He's in the middle of basketball season. He's also a football player at Chatham. I love the upside on the mound with this kid. He was only 83, 85 in the middle of basketball season, so I'm guessing at some point in the summer or the fall we'll see a 6, 7, or an 8. Can really spin the breaking ball. You can tell he's an athlete the way he moves down the mound. Honestly, even at the plate, like he's tall, lanky kid with long levers. Like sometimes those guys, when they're younger, don't control their levers super well at the plate. Not him, man. Short, inside the baseball, loose, controlled it throughout his round, gap to gap. Super interesting name to know out of Chatham-Glenwood. Austin Voorhees from Teutopolis, which is in the Effingham area. Saw him at the GBA Scout Day on Super Bowl Sunday. He was better on this day. 84, 86 with a really good breaking ball, strong kid, still looks pretty young. I would be shocked if he's ever shaved. Has a ton of room to keep adding strength. Guy that can just flat out pitch. Going to get outs. Teutopolis is another like perennial, really, really good program. There was a time where they either won a state championship and finished runner-up the next year or won back-to-back state titles, which in any sport, especially baseball, is really hard to do. So I would imagine he'll be a guy that gets pretty significant innings for a program that is pretty storied and talented. Jack Puent, another Alton kid. Here's a name that I didn't know, which, if I'm just going to be totally honest, is not very common. Strong, physical, left-handed hitter. He took an awesome round of BP. He was on the barrel throughout his round. It's a super clean, like it's your prototypical, polished, clean, good-looking left-handed swing with some thump and some barrel feel, and he's only going to keep getting stronger. So that's definitely a sophomore to follow at Alton. Isaac Wendler, another Father McGivney kid, big, strong kid. I mean, the makeup is off the charts, to be honest. He is extremely mature and extremely put together for not even being 16 years old yet. Really strong, physical kid. His swing kind of reminds me of, this is crazy, he kind of reminds me of Paul Goldschmidt, the way that he gets through the baseball and creates leverage out front. That's a power hitter all the way. He was a big part of that Father McGivney team as a freshman last year. Jory Myron from Rochester started as a freshman at Rochester, which is a really good program, coached by Matt Carlson up there in the Springfield area. Older brother played at Carbondale, SIU Carbondale. Jory's a left-handed hitter, man, and he absolutely rakes. All he does is hit. He's on the barrel all the time. It's one of those swings that just gets the baseball out front and creates lift and elevates it gap to gap. I have no doubts that he's going to hit in the middle of an order for a really, really long time. One name that I saw last year in the spring, Luke Schuckenbrock, second baseman, started at second base for Gillespie. It's a 2A school, probably about 30 to 40 minutes up I-55 from St. Louis. They went 32-0 and lost in the Super Sectional Championship game. That was their first loss of the year. It was one of the better win streaks in Illinois last year. He was their starting second baseman. Luke is 5'8". You would never know that because he carries himself like he's 6'3" or 6'4" and a big leaguer. The way he steps into the batter's box, it's a loose, easy swing, line drive feel. As he gets stronger, he's going to be more of a double, gap-to-gap type of guy. His biggest asset is with the glove. He can flat out pick it. He took probably the best round of the day on the infield defense. Clean and easy. I don't think he'll have any problems sticking up the middle at the next level. That's definitely a name to know that will probably play shortstop for the minors this spring. Asher Cantu, big physical catcher. He was the biggest kid there. Hard to miss him. 6'4", 235, left-handed hitter, strong kid. Had the highest exit velo of the day. It was like 97 miles an hour off the bat. I think his furthest ball went 360 feet. Big kid, plays the outfield too. Another one that I did not know of was Michael Lucas from Glenwood Chatham. Same school as Dylan Huff. He's a sophomore. Just kind of did a little bit of everything. Really good. It was a polished round of BP. Simple, stayed up the middle of the field. Not a guy that was trying to do too much. Just gets on top of the baseball, sprays line drives back up the middle. Took a really good round of infield defense too. Clean and easy. Looks the part of a third base, second base type. And then the last guy I'll leave you with here is Ty Etchison, another Father McGivney kid. Now, if you look at his stats, it's not going to blow you away. Especially on the mound. He's 5'11" and 150 pounds and looks every bit of 5'11", 150 pounds. But the way that kid moves down the mound and the way he spins a breaking ball and how his arm works, if he puts on 15, 20 pounds next year, gets after it in the weight room, and just continues to physically grow as most kids do when they're 16 years old, that's going to be a guy that's going to be 85, 87 with a good breaking ball, probably honestly throwing harder and spotting up strikes left and right. So another Father McGivney arm to know. This event in that class in particular was very, very good. And I should also mention Tyson Filiaw from O'Fallon and Caleb Weber from O'Fallon. So two O'Fallon arms. Brian, as you're familiar, O'Fallon is one of the better programs in the state, but especially in the St. Louis area. Two guys that were 85, 86 plus, sophomores that will look to make an impact for that team this year. And they probably will, but that pitching staff at O'Fallon, and as you'll find out when you go watch them play Edwardsville, is very, very good. So this event in that class, in that sophomore group in particular, was very, very good.
You're going to have to come over and call that game with us because you know.
I'll be there. I live about 4 minutes away from Edwardsville High School. So feel free.
You're going to have to drive a little further because it's going to be at O'Fallon Township High School.
That's okay. I'll be there. That's a great place to take in a baseball game.
Yeah, no, definitely. Come on out. Call that game with us because, that's our first attempt. That's our first full. We did a game with Edwardsville versus Francis Howell a couple years ago. And this year I wanted to get just – a full Illinois side on the docket, and everybody said that was one, and it fit into our schedule. I believe it's April 9th? No. Anyway, I'll tell you. I'll get you there.
Yeah.
We'll get you there.
Those games are those games are awesome. Those games are awesome. In Edwardsville, in O'Fallon, in that part of the state, most parts, like in the Chicagoland area, it's football. Football is king. Edwardsville and O'Fallon, those are baseball towns. Obviously the Tigers are a very storied program, back-to-back state champions. Tim Funkhauser, about as good as it gets from a coaching standpoint in the state, honestly, probably even in the country. And O'Fallon, they went to state in 2018. It's an awesome program. Joe Bauer does an excellent job. They are absolutely loaded this year on the mound. It is probably the deepest pitching staff in the state of Illinois, which says a lot. And those two teams get up for that game. They met in the sectional last year. O'Fallon got up early. Edwardsville rallied back. It was an awesome game. Obviously, they're in the same conference, too. It's a pretty close drive. So I promise you that atmosphere and that game will not disappoint.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I am. And I love that because we did get a chance. It's the first time. And how we it just happened upon it. We were at the sports barn doing a live show with Chris Craddock and those guys a couple weeks before we came out to the event there. And Coach Bauer, the head coach there at O'Fallon Township, happened to be there. We interviewed his son. I didn't know who the head coach was at O'Fallon Township. And I'm interviewing his son because he plays for the Gators in the summertime. So later I'm talking about this. I said, we got to get a game over here. And I think it was Craig said, well, that's the head coach right over there. You want to meet him? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, Joe's a great dude. He's a great dude.
It's kind of not necessarily it's good timing sometimes when you're in places.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and Diego, this is the thing we're trying to do, and hopefully we can do this more. And this is why I love this relationship here and developing this, because you have your pulse on that over there, and love having you come on the show and talk Illinois baseball that way, because we're not that far apart.
For sure, yeah. And I'll tell you what, like the baseball down in this area, in the Metro East and the southwestern part of Illinois. And it's been proven. It's been proven with Edwardsville winning back-to-back state titles. Columbia, 2A school, they've gone to back-to-back state championship games at the 2A classification. Father McGivney last year was on our Illinois rankings. We do our Illinois high school rankings similarly to what we do in Missouri. We actually go 25 teams deep instead of the 10 and 10 split. It's very rare for a small school, which in Illinois would be 1A, 2A, to even crack the top 25. Father McGivney at one point was number 2 in the whole state on our list, which has it's never been done in the 6 years I've been doing this. Wow. So that speaks to the level of talent, and it's really good. The baseball down here, I'll take it against anybody in any part of the state of Illinois, and it's really good. It definitely deserves the light to get shown on it.
I love that. So we got through the 26s here. You got some juniors. This is their year, right? This is the recruiting year. Talk to us about some of these kids.
Yeah. The junior year, going in your junior year, the junior summer for 99% of kids is the most important year from a recruiting perspective. And there's definitely going to be some follow names down here. Tommy Kramkowski, Belleville East. Belleville East, Brian, last year had a starting rotation of Xander Meath, who got paid $2 million in the draft by the Pittsburgh Pirates, Owen Kelly, who is at SLU right now, and Dylan Menino, who is at Western Kentucky. So 3 Division I arms, and Ian DePascal, who's at Minnesota State, which is one of the best Division II schools in the country. All those guys are gone. And I think the expectation now is that Tommy Kramkowski will slide in as their number 1. Last year, he was, as a sophomore, 83, 85, strike thrower, fill up the zone, spins 2 breaking balls, would show a changeup too. He's gotten stronger. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten more physical. He was up to 89 at this event. I've seen him up to 90 this winter, or I've heard he's been up to 90 this winter. 2 really good breaking balls, 2 different breaking balls. A lot of the times at this age, when guys throw a curveball slider, they're basically the same pitch. They just call it differently. His is different. The curveball goes more your traditional 12-6, kind of some hump to it. Slider is more lateral this way. So it gives him something to show, 2 different hitters. And the changeup was really good. And metrically, it's really good too. He kills spin on it. gets natural run. It's going to be a pitch that he'll be able to throw effectively to left-handed hitters. So 4 pitches, comfortable and confident in all 4 of them, strike thrower. And he's a guy that I think is only going to keep throwing harder. If you look at him, kind of a younger look for a junior in high school, still has plenty more to grow into his frame. Great kid, too, has a great head on his shoulders. So that's a definite guy to know for the schools out there and to go see him this spring and summer is Tommy Kramkowski at Belleville East.
He's a
positionally,
nice kid too. He's a
great kid.
We got a chance to talk to him. I really, and we got a chance to talk to a lot of these kids that he's talking about here, folks. So you'll enjoy these interviews. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Bo Gomrich from Althoff Catholic. So Bo, his cousin actually is Hank Gomrich, who is committed to SLU. He's a 2024. Bo was at the Battle for the Arch that in September that we ran at SLU. He was in the middle of soccer season, and he still had a great day. He was on the barrel, had a couple hits in game, but with a full off season under his belt, he's gotten stronger. He's gotten more physical, and whatever work he put in the weight room showed pretty early on in BP. Handful of batted balls in the low 90s. He hit a ball 96.1 miles an hour, which was one of the better marks of the day and his personal best mark at our events. It's a short, athletic swing. I would imagine he'll hit right towards the top of Althoff Catholic's lineup again this spring. He can really pick it on the infield, second base, shortstop type, and he can run too. And he plays hard. He plays the game at 100%. So love Bo Gomrich. Have been a fan for a while here.
I want to jump in here just a second with Bo Gomrich. Me personally, you talk about the stats and all that. I don't, and these are things I like looking at because they're here and I have access to all this. I love looking at hand speed.
Yeah.
How guys get through, because I think, that determines a lot of whether you get to a baseball, then generating the bat speed you need to get exit velocity to hit the ball hard. And Gomrich was right at the top. Hand speed is 22 miles an hour. You're getting through the zone pretty quickly with that. And getting to the baseball, that gives you the ability to barrel a baseball.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to hit upper 80s, low 90s fastballs if you don't have fast hands. And it's also pretty hard, unless you're 6'4", 235, to produce impact off the barrel at a high level if you don't have hand speed and bat speed. So that's a great point because it's an asset. And honestly, if you look at all the good hitters, whether they're in high school or in college or at the professional level, most of them have one thing in common, and that's hand speed and bat speed. So it's important for sure.
I mean, the sexy number is always right, the exit velo. Everybody goes, ooh. But
yeah,
how did you get that?
Correct. It's how you go about getting it, for sure.
Exactly.
Digging into some more guys here. Grayson Rathgeb, Edwardsville High School, was basically their starting center fielder down the stretch for their state champion team last year. He's gotten so much better in the last 12 months. And honestly, this is one of my favorite things about this job is you see a guy at some point in like February of one year, and then to follow them throughout the year and see how much better they get in a year's time is really, really cool. And it's an indictment on the kid and their work ethic. We saw him in the summer. He came to the Illinois State games. He was at the Battle for the Arch too. Really good showings on those 2 days. This may have been his best showing. Great body. He's gotten stronger. The swing is way less effortful and way more in rhythm. Before, he was kind of two-piece, a little too mechanical. It's looser. It's more rhythmic. And that's honestly probably because he's gotten stronger and more confident at the plate. Huge arm from the outfield, up to 91 miles an hour from the outfield. It plays in game. It's loose. It's quick. He may be like a 94, 95 guy from the outfield by the time he's 18, 19, 20, getting into college. And a guy that will probably be, again, roaming center field for one of, if not the best teams in Illinois. So definitely an uncommitted junior to know of there. Augie Johns, I hope I'm saying that right. Another Edwardsville kid, big physical catcher, like 6'2", looks the part of your traditional like strong body backstop. He was lifting the ball to the pull side all throughout his round of BP, hammering the baseball consistently. Believe he had the highest average batted distance of the event. Strong kid, threw it well from behind the plate too. That's a guy that should potentially factor into Edwardsville's catching rotation this upcoming spring. Staying with the backstops, two guys, because the catchers at this event were very, very good. Two guys to mention, I'll kind of group them together here. Alex Kiefer from Mount Vernon and Chase Niemeyer from Marion, both towards the southeastern parts of the state. Kiefer is a switch hitter. He's a guy we've seen a pretty good amount. It's a polished swing from both sides of the plate, but what really stood out to me from this event was he was throwing the ball significantly better than we had seen from him in the past. He topped at 78 from the crouch, and it wasn't effortful. Like, he wasn't trying to throw the ball hard. It was just jumping out of his hand pretty good. I believe his previous best at our events at least was 74. So he jumped up 4 miles an hour. It was on the bag. Again, like I was throwing the catcher pops, and I didn't realize who it was when he was throwing it, but I was just thinking to myself, man, that's really good. And it's coming out really good. And he was on the bag, 194 to 201 pop times from him. And then Niemeyer may have been the best catch and throw guy of the entire event. He's a guy that I'd never seen before, never heard of before. Marion is a 3A school that is always competitive. They play in a beautiful ballpark in the southeastern part of the state. It's an independent all-turf field. It's incredible. He was 77 from the crouch, 197 to 201 pops. That ball was jumping quick out of his hand. It was on the bag. The guys that were catching the throws at second base didn't even have to move their gloves. It was really good. In the pens, he was really good. His block and recover was really good. Super advanced and polished for his age. That's the guy that really helped himself at this event, from our perspective, at least. Chase Knable.
Real quick. Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
You said the catcher.
Yeah.
You know, when you said he didn't have to move his glove. All right. You've seen enough of these. I've seen enough of these. You see this all the time. I was at the All-Star game when it was at Busch, okay? And I never noticed this before, but every time Yachty would pop one down, Chase Utley was over there. Chase Utley would straddle the bag and put his glove out like this. And he never moved his glove. That's just what, and that was Yadier Molina, you know, boom. And that,
yeah.
So I don't think people I shouldn't say I don't think people, but understand, folks, what Diego just said there, that's a rarity for any kind of high school player, that if you got a kid at second base and he's not having to move his glove, that's a rarity.
Yeah, and I mean, arm strength from behind the plate is obviously important, right? It's the same thing on the mound. Like, the faster the ball gets down to the bag, the less, like, the quicker, the more of a chance you have to cut down a base runner, right? But if you have a big arm and you're not accurate with it, it's kind of like the same thing if you have a big fastball and you're not accurate with it, right? It's like you have this really good tool, but you're not maximizing your potential with it. And Chase has a good arm and he's accurate with it. And when you have a catcher that can do that and get it out quick, especially when they're teenagers and in high school, it's a rarity, like you said. So it's something that definitely stands out at a position where defense is of obviously the utmost of importance.
Yeah.
So
sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. Just continuing my ramble down here. I want to pull up.
Because I'm going to do this while you're looking at this. Because, folks, you know, we were talking about the hitting. He's talking about a lot of these kids as far as their hitting. The kids he mentioned, I guess his full name is Augustus. You called him Augie Johns.
Yeah.
Same thing. Hand speed, 25.1. You go down to Rathgeb, 23.5. You talked about Cantu, Asher Cantu, same thing. Dylan Huff. All these guys are in the top, 15 of hand speed through this. All those guys you mentioned with good rounds of BP and their swing looks right and all that. I think that is, we used to call it, I guess, the eye test, right? because you could see the hands get through the zone. Now we have a measurement tool that kind of proves that point. And I think these kids are outstanding that way. And all those kids that you've mentioned, Isaac Wendler, Bo Gomrich, all those kids are in that level.
Yeah. The number one thing that stands out, like that you're looking for I have three. The three B's is what I like to call them. It's barrel accuracy, so how much you're on the barrel, right? Mm-hmm. The sweet spot. Bat speed, which is the same thing as hand speed, right? How fast your hands are able and how fast the barrel is able to get through the zone. And then balance, how balanced you are from the start and how balanced you are when you finish. And I would venture to guess that 100% of high-level hitters have all three of those things. They're on the barrel often, they have fast hands, and they're usually pretty balanced. So just a tip there for most guys that are trying to train some things up.
That's a good tip, folks. Pay attention.
So one guy that I came away a big fan of, and I had seen him before, but it's Chase Knable from Highland High School. Now, Highland High School is another one of those programs in Illinois with a storied history. They've won several state championships at the 3A level. They play at an awesome park. It's like a stadium-like feel to it at a public park. But I had always known Chase Knable as an arm, and he did pitch at this event and was very good. I think he was up to 84, but he was the ace of Highland's team last year. Threw 64 innings, Brian, and had a .88 ERA. So less than 1 ERA in 64 innings of work. This is the most impressive thing. He struck out 70 guys and walked only 6. So in 64 innings, only 6 walks. That kind of speaks to his pitchability right there and his ability to just fill up the strike zone. But what I came away more impressed of from this event was he took an awesome round of BP. You want to talk about hand speed and staying short and staying direct to the baseball and being able to spray line drives throughout the field. That was Chase Knable. Polished, as easy and as simple and as in rhythm of a swing that was at that event on Saturday. A guy that totally kind of changed the way I thought about him as kind of just a pitchability lefty that got outs. He's a legit two-way guy. He's a legit two-way guy that will go to college, in my opinion, to pitch and to hit wherever he goes because it was super impressive at the plate.
He's at the top, 25 miles an hour hand speed. He's the top kid there.
Yeah.
And tell me about, as you're looking at this, you talk about barrel. Give people an understanding of on-plane efficiency.
So basically, on-plane efficiency, to my understanding, how it's captured through blast motion, is basically your swing staying on plane, right? And I'm using the word to define the word, but a lot of the times it's just how good you're able to repeat your swing and keeping it on the same plane and the same level throughout the zone. You always talk about staying on plane. What that does is that helps the barrel and the hitter consistently match the pitch, right? So like if a guy throws you a high fastball and you're really good at staying inside the baseball and staying on plane, you're probably going to find the barrel more often than someone who's not. It's the same way, whereas if a guy throws you a low fastball at the knees, right? Finding a barrel on a low fastball is not the easiest thing to do because oftentimes hitters are looking for something middle in or middle up or whatever. So just being able to repeatedly find the barrel and keep your swing on the same path is something that it's one of the things that a lot of really good hitters do.
Very good. Thank you.
So one other guy, Carter Harrington from Collinsville High School, started at Collinsville last year, was a football player. To my understanding, he no longer plays football, but was a football player on a Collinsville team that's pretty good. Athletic kid, loose, easy swing at the plate, picked it good. He's a guy that I have seen perform in game. The measurables don't stand up to you. Like his exit velo is not crazy high. He doesn't have a crazy big arm across the infield. The tools don't you wouldn't look at them and be wowed. But the in-game performance, the grinder, gamer type, he was good for Collinsville last spring. We saw him up at the Rock Sports Complex in Wisconsin, which is one of our main tournament places. And and he was all over the barrel and just spraying singles to all fields. So just a gamer type, kind of the guy you have to go out and see, and you'll kind of leave the game being like, wow, who is that Carter Harrington kid? Even if the metrics don't totally stand out to you.
I love that.
Yeah. And then
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead. And then turning to the mound, handful of 25s here that were pretty good on the mound. I'm actually going to start with 2 2024s that we had. Both of them are still uncommitted. I have no doubts that they will both find a home to play collegiately because they're definitely talented enough. Garrick Winkler, who goes to Breeze Mater Day, a 2A school that is one of the better 2A schools in the St. Louis area. Also a basketball player. He's in the middle of basketball season right now. Big physical kid. Was up to 85, pitched in the low to mid 80s, spun a good breaking ball. I've heard from people that I trust that he has been up to 87. So I'm going to just go ahead and he actually came to this event right after basketball practice. So if you ever played basketball, you know what those practices look like, right? Had practice at like 9 a.m., came afterwards, was still up to 85, so his legs were probably pretty tired. And then Evan Day, another arm for this O'Fallon club, Brian, 83-84, not a straight 83-84. He sinks it a little bit. It kind of comes out from a lower arm slot, throws a good changeup that plays well off that fastball with some natural arm side run, and sharp spin on a 73 to 76 mile an hour slider. So those two guys, both uncommitted, both guys that should have no problem finding somewhere to play here at the next level before they're done with high school ball. Dipping down back into the 25s, Ethan Murphy and Carter Murphy, two twin brothers from Springfield Southeast High School, both mid-80s guys, both threw 4 pitches, all of them for strikes. Just strike thrower, your typical low to mid-80s strike throwing righties. Same thing with Drew Zaka, who was another 2025, strong kid, was 82-83, touched 84, spun a breaking ball for strikes, turned over a changeup. There was a lot of low to mid-80s guys that could spin a breaking ball and throw strikes at this event. It's not common that we see like 15 plus guys that were like 83 plus and can actually throw strikes and spin breaking balls and land their changeups. And that's what we saw at this event. And it was really good to see.
It's amazing to me, just standing out here looking at this, the 2027 McCarthy and Lindemann in that low to mid 80s group, along with Anderson Kaufman. I mean, that's impressive. And then Dylan Huff in the same thing, 26s. Those younger age kids already at this velocity, that shows, like you said, the upside of those kids is really amazing to me.
Yeah, and honestly, it speaks to, and we were kind of talking about this a little bit before we went live, but it speaks to how good the training is in this part of the state in particular, but in general, like youth athletes are getting, and honestly, the coaches too are as good at training arms and keeping arms healthy and training velocity as we've ever seen before. There are some very, very, very good pitching instructors in this part of the state on the Illinois side and in Missouri too. So these kids are, not only are they starting lifting more or at an early age, and are they bigger, are they stronger, are they more physical, but the teaching that they're getting is also really, really good. Not that it wasn't really, really good before, obviously, right? Because there have been numerous amounts of arms that have been high-level guys and going back to 50 years ago from this area. But training velocity is as easier as it's ever been nowadays, and the instruction that these kids are getting, coupled with them living in the weight room, their work ethic, how they get after it now, all that put together is really good to see. And it's why you see young guys sustainably throw harder at a younger age.
And to your point, it's not that guys haven't done that. It's just, it's deeper. There's more kids doing it. And I think that's the thought process. It's not that guys haven't done this. It's just, you're seeing more guys do it because more guys are getting that training. It's more available as well.
That's a perfect word to use, available, because it's so easy now with YouTube, with Twitter, with social media in general, with all the different technology we have available, the driveline balls, the Rapsodos, the cameras, the TrackMan. Like, you can do so much and the weight room. The biggest component to, at least in my opinion, to throwing harder are how good of a mover you are, so your mobility, being mobile, being flexible, having a good mobility program, and lifting. Those are the two things that, like, when you see kids that are 81, 82 as freshmen, and then they show up to one of our events 12 months later, and they're 84 to 86, touching 87, the common denominator is that kid probably got bigger naturally just by being a high school kid going through puberty, but he probably put on muscle mass. He's probably on some kind of weight training program. He's probably on some kind of caloric program where they're eating more, and his mobility probably improved over that 12-month span. Those are that, and just having that information available that maybe we didn't have, or the game didn't have 20, 30, 40 years ago, is why you see guys throw harder in high school, why you see guys throw harder in college, why the Major League Baseball average fastball velo is higher, all those components. But again, if you don't know how to use it, it doesn't matter, right? So
exactly. Diego, when you guys got your rankings coming out?
Oh man, it's gonna be a crazy couple weeks here with the winter wrapping up and the high school season starting. Our Missouri 2024 rankings will probably come out really soon, if not the end of this week, the start of next week. I would envision the same thing in Illinois, and then we will slowly trickle out the 25s, the 26s, and the 27s in both Illinois and Missouri in the coming weeks. It's tough. I shouldn't say it's tough. It's tough in a good way because, one, the talent in both states is incredible. I only focus mostly on like the southern part of Illinois and some central parts too. You can only imagine how good some of the baseball players are in Chicago, given the population and how good just that area of the state has been in baseball forever. So having to kind of blend those two together and expand our rankings in Illinois is a beast in its own right. But then Missouri too. The Missouri talent is just as good as Illinois. And I tell my Illinois guys that all the time. The players we are seeing more players. We are seeing more talented players. There's absolute dudes at every event we go to from top to bottom. So it's a good problem to have, obviously, for the state. The state's in a great spot. And with Missouri, especially with a lot of those baseball players, mostly with the A-plus program and the talent, the quality of collegiate programs at D2, NAIA, D3, and junior college, like a lot of those guys stay home. They stay in state, and those programs benefit from it. So it's a good problem to have, but it is a very thorough process that takes place.
So you got to come back on because I know you guys are going to be putting together your high school rankings and who's going to be at the top and bottom. Do you guys split it up like they do here in Missouri between large school, small school?
We don't. In Illinois, we do 25 teams in general, and that encompasses all classes. So it is a little tougher for the 1A, 2A, the smaller schools to find their way on there. Now, we have had some really good 1A, 2A programs, whether public or private school, find their way on there. I think this year we're going to do it's not going to be a ranking. It's going to be more of like a bi-weekly newsletter, just kind of giving some love to those 1A, 2A schools in kind of like a story format. Who's doing well, who's trending up, who should we follow? Because there are some really good players. Like Dominic Vagley, for example, at Columbia High School last year. He's the Saturday guy at Kansas right now as a freshman. Helped lead the Eagles to consecutive 2A state playoff appearances. Got drafted by the Arizona Diamondbacks last year, chose to go to college. He's a Saturday guy at KU now in the Big 12, and we'll probably be pushing for the Friday guy at some point, if not this year, definitely next year as a sophomore. So the talent at the 1A, 2A level is still just as good as the 3A, 4A. It's just depth. Obviously when you have bigger schools, you're going to have more players to choose from, right? But we don't. Kevin does it a little bit differently than we do. But yeah. All
right. Well, we'll still get you on to talk about those schools as coming up. Who's going to vie for championships in the classes? Want to do that, and so you'll probably be turning around back to it. I've thought about this as bringing you Kevin and Urban on all at the same time and see if we can filter through it all.
Yeah, if we did that show, Brian, I hope you can carve out like 3 hours of recording time, because once you get the three of us, we work together every day. We talk a lot. I probably talk to Andy Urban on the phone more than anybody that I know. So once you get us going on high school stuff, it's going to be a while. It's going to be a really long show.
That's okay. We might just even do it live and just go boom, and put it. It'd be cool, right? It'd be cool.
It'd be cool. It'd be really cool. And he's got some good stuff going on over there in Kansas too. There's some really good. There's some really good young players in that 26 and 27 class in Kansas that are making their way up now to the varsity level in high school ball.
This was a great winter workout season for us. We've passed each other at P.B.R. events with Kevin, but getting to meet you and getting to know you and doing the event, and then of course with on the Kansas side with Andy, it's been great, and I appreciate you guys and what you're doing and giving us your time. I know you're busy, so I appreciate it very much.
Hey, we appreciate you guys coming out to the events, man. And what you guys do with youth baseball and kind of just shining another light on it, it's awesome. I know the kids love it. I listen to the show every week. Listen to you and Mulder talk about stuff and all the guests you guys have. So it's awesome. We love it. We really do. You guys are welcome at any of our events at any point in time.
I appreciate that very much. Folks, Diego Solares, if you are in Illinois and you want to follow PBR _ Illinois, correct?
We actually just changed it with the whole rebrand. I'm going to tell you what it is right now.
Okay.
It's Prep Baseball IL.
Prep.
That's our new Twitter handle. Prep Baseball IL. Yep.
Okay. So Prep Baseball IL. Make sure you follow Diego here on Prep Baseball IL. Make sure you do that. It'll be a great follow, especially if you're in Illinois and you want to get into an event. What you got coming up? You guys are finished for the season? Is that
done.
Correct? Okay.
Yeah, we're done. It's all high school ball right now. Personally, I know all of our staff. It's our favorite time of the year. Just going out to games, seeing good players, seeing them in game action. But we're done right now until the summer. We'll have a bunch of stuff coming out in the summer here throughout the state. And then obviously Missouri the same way with our summer schedule coming out soon and our fall stuff too. So there'll be plenty. There'll be plenty.
Absolutely. Future games coming up. A lot of good stuff, folks. So make sure you check out Prep Baseball Report. Follow Diego there. Prep Baseball IL. I said it right again.
You got it.
I'm getting good at this.
You got it.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. We do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you do enjoy the show and you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button right down there. Next to it, hit that dinger, because that's what we do around here. We hit dingers, even if it only comes off 85 miles an hour off the bat. Maybe not, but anywho, that will get you all your notifications for upcoming episodes such as this. Stay informed about youth baseball in the Midwest. We do appreciate it very much. Until next time, everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters. Diego, give some love to the hitters. What should they do?
Well, Brian, I was a pitcher, so this is not my normal.
I gave you the wrong one. I'm sorry.
They should keep hitting dingers. They should keep hitting dingers, Brian. That's what they should do.
Except if you're pitching, right?
Yep. You got it.
Next time I'll give you the pitcher's one, man. I'm sorry. I should have.
I would appreciate that, but it's all right.
All right.
You got to give love to everybody. You got to spread the love.
We'll see y'all next time.